No points in this one. No point 2, no point 5. Episode 15, because last one was 14 and a half, 15, don't know. We'll call it 15 and a half, 16. Enough of the chases, numbers. Ben, you're here. Hello.
Hello. It's gone from 15 to 15 and a half and 16 in like 10 seconds. I love it.
Honestly, yeah. When I start this podcast, I think it's just like the last few thoughts in my head.
Technically 15, I would say.
Yeah, we'll go
14.2 was the last one. We'll go 15.
Yeah, 15 just sounds sensible.
It's episode 15. It's the 16th podcast.
That's correct. They're all on our YouTube channel. Hit like, subscribe, comment. Now we've got to publicise ourselves. But no, it's a sunny day here in Manchester. What's the weather like? Do you have any windows where you're staying?
Very much so, yeah. The windows are very tall because the ceiling's very big. The degree of temperature from the outside in, so the last few days here have been absolutely savage. It's been like 29 degrees inside the flat.
That's nice and warm.
No, that's not nice.
That's horrendous. 29 degrees is like ridiculous.
Is it sunny up there today? It's interesting because we've got,
Very sunny.
if I look out the window now, we've got Manchester weather. Grey.
Is it?
Pretty cold.
No, it's well sunny. It's well nice.
It's about like 13 degrees out there or something.
I might have a cricket net this afternoon. Socially distanced, of course, but I mean, I might get a bit aggressive in my sledging, get a bit close to him.
Who's going to bowl at you?
I just might.
You're going to be doing the bowling.
I'll just do most of the bowling. I'm not asked about batting. It's a bit of a sweat, isn't it? Get a bit of cardio if you're bowling.
Turn the shoulder over.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't hurt you, can it? Well, it can. Any developments in the real tennis world this week? I'm trying to think. Not so much. Just a few announcements about COVID, haven't there?
Yeah. When was the last was the announcement the Sunday, like the day after the last podcast, or the week before that?
It would be like it was like the 13th or the 14th. I think this email went out.
And I have absolutely no idea what the date is right now.
23rd.
Right. So yeah, the latest government thing is obviously no indoor sports.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
So nothing's changed basically.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll have to wait until June, see what happens. But I mean, they're going to have to get us on court at some point. You'd hope.
Well, it'd be interesting because, I'd be interested to see how the rest of the season pans out from here because the IRTPA will have to get canned.
Yeah, well.
And that's not me as an IRTPA executive member saying that. I have no intel on that, so don't read into that. I just mean with the whole UK doing the enforced 2 weeks quarantine. I think we may have spoken about this last time. You know,
yeah.
Nick wants to come over. He's got to ask for a month off work and stuff. So that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And then it just depends how quickly the UK relax that, because if it's not that quick, then the British Open basically can't happen either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and only Camden could do it. He could probably do the 2 weeks, but then it'd be pretty boring just sitting around.
Well, he'd have to be over for the World Championship anyway, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is true. They could.
So actually, obviously, from a World Championship perspective, in theory, if you just logistically, that can happen because Cam can come over, spend the 2 weeks in quarantine, then do his practice partner and stuff. Rob can use a practice partner in the UK, so can Cam. The only downside, so feasibly, the two guys can actually get on court and it can happen. I'm just, I don't think as an event, it's likely to happen though. Do you know what I mean? If the social distancing and stuff's in place and Preston are only allowed to have 40 people in or something, because people got to stay far apart from each other, it's not really much of an event, is it?
No, and they'd lose out on all the social functions. So actually, financially, it would just become a disaster.
Well, I think what would probably happen is that the prize fund for that World Championship would basically decrease massively, and that's no good for either of them. So
disagree. Yeah, exactly. It's the sensible solution, isn't it? But we'll see. Another week in lockdown. Things change. I think things will happen quite quickly. Personally, then again, I do say a lot of things without really thinking. So don't take.
The next announcement is on a fixed date, isn't it? So I don't think we're getting any changes between now and then.
No, 1st of June. That is right. But no, nothing too much happening here. Just 10 weeks in lockdown, isn't it? Tedious, I guess. But no, I got a few free beers yesterday. Ben, did you see that on my Insta story?
I did see that. Yeah, I didn't really. You told me to look up some good content, and I'm still looking for it.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, I did. I had to look at it a few times, and it wasn't the best picture.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a bit of a hastily taken one.
So what was that? Was that from the club or something?
Basically, yeah. So obviously the club can't sell like out of date beer, so all of those like Crystal Golds had gone out of date at the end of
Yeah, Darren said
2019.
he'd gone into the club like in the week and seen loads of like out of date stuff. I was like, oh, you'll have to drink it, mate.
Yeah, generally. So I've picked up 24 Crystal Golds, which is ideal.
That'll
Actually, I just,
last you the rest of the lockdown, won't it?
mate, it lasts me 24 days. Including hangovers. But no, it was a decent haul for free, so there we go. That was what the content was. But anyway, we could talk all day. We do talk all day about pointless stuff.
Couldn't agree more.
I know, yeah. But this week's actually gonna be quite a fun episode because everyone's got an opinion on this sort of thing. So I'll introduce it, and Ben's going to be asking me questions. So it's basically going to be the best courts for a certain kind of shot in real tennis, and I think that's a unique sort of theory or topic to reelers because obviously you can't have that in squash. Like, oh yeah, the glass court in Egypt's great for a drop shot. Like, well, I mean that just doesn't happen. But yeah, so
What a great analogy to go straight to.
I know, yeah, I could have done anything. Yeah, oh yeah, Sellers Park's great for a 25-yarder. But no, the best
The
shots.
Liberty Stadium's a great home venue on a cold Tuesday night.
Exactly, yeah, tough to get away to the Liberty. But yeah, in real, it's like what we all think. Oh yeah, it's great for this shot, but I mean, we'll get some decisions out there, won't we?
Well, that's what's really good about like this kind of topic is there's like so many variables with, not to mention you get these variables in like any sport, but individual style, like that that's always going to have a part of it.
Yeah.
But the two things I think make it quite interesting are, like as you've already said, like the courts are different. So some courts lend themselves to certain shots based on certain styles more than others. But also it's an opinion thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
like you could turn around to me and say, oh, I find it really easy to serve a demi-PK at C court, and I might go, oh god, I can't like get my demi-PK anywhere near where I want it at C court. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
should be quite an interesting one. So basically, I figured because I normally just yab on about garbage and get lost in these things, so I thought I would put the questions to you and get your kind of like immediate. Where your brain goes to when I kind of offer you this as a question. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes complete sense. Yeah, I'm all over it.
So we'll start with like the fun, easy, obvious stuff. So where do you find if I said like right, you need to go and set a world record for grills, where would you go?
Oh, Queens will be up there.
Queens would be up there. So why?
Just because I find that when it hits that main wall, it just tends to travel, keep going. So
exactly what I was thinking.
yeah, so like
it's so slick off that wall. That
yeah,
basically, if you get the height right from the, I know it sounds obvious to say if you get the height right at the moment it leaves your racket, it's in. But that's not the case on a lot of courts like.
Yeah.
Leamington, Hampton Court, like the walls are very grippy.
Just sticks and goes below, doesn't it?
So exactly, it kind of like checks and like cuts down almost. Whereas like Queens and Lords, if you just basically flick the wall, flick the main wall, it will just skid through and it finds its way into the grill really nicely, right?
I've played 2 matches at Queens in the last 6 months, and I've hit like so many grills. I was like, wow, I'm so good. But I think it's more just because the court just makes it go in.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it depends how you hit your grills, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're someone who tries to like lump the ball in the grill, if you get the height an inch wrong, the ball will never get a chance to like, if you hit it an inch high, and you hit it like as you do necessarily and guide it in, the ball might be able to dip a tiny bit. Whereas if you're kind of someone who tries to thump it in there, you're going to struggle at somewhere like Queens.
Yeah, true.
Because the wall's just going to skid through and it's going to hold its height the whole time. It's never going to dip. So, like, if you go from Hampton Court, for example, to Queens, where I don't want to talk about Hampton Court too much. We've got to do a segment on this.
Yeah, we do.
But like it's a longer court and the main wall checks a bit more. You've got to physically hit the ball a bit higher or a bit harder to get the ball in the grill at Hampton Court. You then go to Queens. You're probably going to dump a load on the penthouse to start with.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the adjustment factor is quite major. I'm amazed that you haven't anywhere else you can think of.
Middlesex, very good for grills.
Middlesex, very good for grills. I've got the most obvious one in the world. I can't believe you haven't mentioned it.
Manchester to an extent, Ben, But
Manchester is the easiest grill in the world to hit.
I don't know, mate, because that wall, like, and the balls, like, if you've played there a lot, like, I know it's a massive grill, but you do miss a lot there. I'm telling you, sometimes it's quite hard to get past that timbre. And
Oxford?
no, you just no. Oh, it's too low. I think you always hit too much on the roof. You're going for the
But
grill.
look at the size. I mean, the court is like Subbuteo,
Yeah, isn't
and
it?
yet the grill is like normal size.
Compared to Queens and Middlesex, I'd say those two are out ahead. On Oxford, like, I think you miss more than you hit. It's weird though, because it's like a wide grill. It's not like a tall one, and I feel like a tall grill is easier to hit than a wide one.
I would agree. Yeah, I think it's easier to get the width right than the
Yeah.
height. I think if you miss, it's generally going to be high or low rather than left.
Exactly. But yeah. But yeah, Middlesex is quite easy to be fair. That's another one where it just rattles in like glass board.
It's quite a satisfying sound when it goes in as well, knowing that everybody on the court and in the rest of the university campus has been half deafened by it.
Yeah, exactly. They've had to stop a few seminars when I'm playing.
Absolutely horrible noise when it goes in there, and like it's just an extra like fuck you to your opponent because they're probably like stood very close to it, and then they just get this like shattering going through there.
It is genuinely like a shattering, isn't it? It's a shattering. That is
all
funny.
right, so Queens it lends itself to good grills. Lords, I think, is basically the same.
Yeah, just maybe
same kind of style.
Maybe heavier balls sort of impede you a little bit of Lords in terms of trying to hit a grill. But yeah, that wall is so slick.
It's the same kind of like style as Queens, isn't it? It's kind of like just slick and kind of skids through quite nicely.
I agree.
You don't have to like really hit it. You can just basically feed the ball into the main wall and just watch it go.
Yeah, go.
So it's quite a nice like. It's an energy efficient grill to hit, shall we say?
I agree.
You don't have to go too big on it. Manchester, I think, is quite okay. Hardest grill. Where do you find it really difficult to hit the grill? And I'm asking you this because I could list basically everywhere in the world. For me,
great question. Leamington's pretty hard.
Leamington is a tough grill to hit, isn't it?
Because that main wall just
the wall just checks.
That main wall just fucks you up.
Do you know why that is?
Why is that, Ben? Tell me.
Some bright spark when they painted the court years ago, and if this bright spark listens to this podcast, which I can't imagine they do because they're probably dead, but you're an idiot. They painted the court with blackboard paint.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite.
So it's basically like really, really chalky. So that's why the ball like spits around the corners and stuff so much, because once the ball hits the wall, it's hitting such a rough paint.
Yeah.
That it just like literally bites on the paint and then like grips and rips itself around.
Wow, that is Well, there's nothing.
Well,
I can't argue with that.
If you go through like stereotypically nice courts to play on, the walls are basically untreated, right? So they're quite slick, like a sea. All of the like Bickley stuff, like the sea courts, the Mawson Morals, all that kind of stuff. And Leamington's just got like paint on it.
Yeah, Leamington is hard to hit.
Really painted.
It's proper hard.
Tough grill. I'll tell you the toughest grill in the world to hit.
Hobart.
Seems obvious, but it's just got to be.
Small, isn't it?
It's just the smallest thing in the world.
You've got it's a weird court, that one, when you watch streams, because like the timbre offers you a lot as well.
The postage stamp.
Yeah, the postage stamp. Genuine top bins.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay, next one then for you. Where do you find where do you, Robert Shokman, find it easiest to hit main wall dead-ons?
I've got two in mind at the moment. Middlesex is one for me.
Yeah. I would agree. And that is a savage main wall dead-on to defend off that main wall as well.
That's just in. That's just in before you know it.
Well, no, it's just because like I always find when I play Middlesex, it feels like the court's made of rubber.
Yeah, it's just dead bouncy.
As in, like the ball's like so explosively fast off the wall, so you've got like a main wall coming at you. It doesn't slow down at all when it hits that wall, and this thing is checking across the court like nobody's business. And I'm just thinking every time I'm seeing someone line up for a main wall, I'm like, oh my god, there's a very realistic chance I could be wearing this one.
Yeah. Where else? Well, we mentioned I can't really remember it, but I can imagine Petworth's pretty easy for a main wall, just by the size of the dead-on.
Exactly, you can just slide them in.
We've got to put Petworth in there because obviously.
Well, the good thing about Petworth is you can hit main walls at Petworth. You can hit the main wall at Petworth deeper than anywhere else. So you can hit a spot on the main wall which will not go in anywhere else in the world apart from Petworth.
I like that. I
So
thought you were going to say you can hit the main wall from anywhere and it'll go in. I was like,
like backhand both.
yeah. Backhands will go in. Petworth's up there. I think Queens, obviously, you just get so much that goes in there off the main wall.
Really?
Queens, yeah, I think so.
So see, that's where I would. Yeah.
Where do you miss then at Queens? Low or high?
Oh God, everywhere.
Yeah, net.
All over, yeah, just all over the place. That's really weird actually, because like certain. Yeah, like obviously because I play at Leamington more than anywhere else, I can picture like when I miss, I generally miss low because it checks off the main wall.
Yeah.
But Queens, I just miss all over the place.
One court which you haven't mentioned for the main wall, which I'd put ahead of Queens actually in terms of it goes in. Wellington, a lot goes in off there.
Wellington, I'll tell you what, you're missing an absolute ripper for main walls.
Maybe like Jesmond Dean. I don't know. It's massive dead on apparently.
Paris.
I've never played there, to be fair.
Oh my God.
Does it just go in?
It's the big. I mean, the French targets are just obscenely big.
Just big baguettes.
They're just massive, and the courts are really bouncy. So Petworth, even though the wall at Paris is normal size compared to Petworth, but like that bit between the dead on and the main wall, like you can hit the ball so deep at Paris and it will still go in.
Oh wow.
That is a really friendly court to play. But these are like the really obvious ones. Somewhere for some reason that I seem to hit dead on as well, and I've got no idea why, is Seacourt.
We're just so quick, isn't it? You don't probably start to do that much with it.
Yeah, but I remember like practicing with Bryn down there for his Eliminator in 2010, and we just do some targets and stuff, and I just found it. It was just one of those courts where, for some reason, it just finds its way in every time for me.
Yeah, good place to. I remember when I played the Silver Racket there, I found a few main wall dead-ons.
I mean, I haven't attempted to hit a main wall dead-on in the Silver Racket for 15 years because I'm normally giving away 30/30. So
you've hit a few lobs though. But no, yeah, main wall's a quality one. Like, there's always, just it's so good for a main wall here.
But I think there are certain courts like a Paris and stuff that lend itself to that. But then a lot, and Middlesex is good for it. I think there is a lot of it which is just personal preference as well. Like you wouldn't, if somebody said name the 5 easiest courts to hit a main wall on, I don't think someone would say Seacourt. But I kind of think to myself, I just remember being able to hit quite a lot there for some reason. That's a personal thing.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting.
No, I agree.
All right, I've got more for you.
Oh, woo! Here we go.
Where is, for you, can you think from memory, like a place that you've played where you just think, oh my God, this timbre is so hard?
I mean, Oxford.
Well,
it's not.
I love it, but that's the thing. I just love like the immediate reaction.
Well, yeah, I don't think too much. Oxford is hard, but I mean, you get used to it because, I mean, if you've got anything about you, you'll just stand deeper and remember that it's going to come behind you. But I mean, Oxford, like if you hit the timbre, you get a lot more free points off it than you would anywhere else.
Yeah, so in that same kind of, I'll tell you what, the sun's pouring through now, Shanks.
Oh, good.
Manchester's blown over.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're thinking about if you're going to put Oxford in there, which is obviously that is a tough town. Right?
Yeah.
The reason it's tough is because the angle is very tough, right?
Yeah.
On that basis, you have to then throw in Tuxedo and Hobart for exactly the same reason.
Tuxedo's small as well. I think Tuxedo is so small.
They do. They just do the same thing. They just go round behind you.
Yeah.
And I think was it Tuxedo? It was either Tuxedo or Hobart that I played quite recently. I think it was Tuxedo.
Okay.
And basically, you could hit the timbre, and it would just like the thing is right. If it hits the timbre and goes behind you, and it pops around the corner, it's a bit of a strange angle and it's a bit weird because you're not used to it. But once you start to get used to it, you can start to play it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas one of these courts, I think it was Tuxedo, you'd hit the timbre and it would basically hit the nick at the back wall as it was coming around the corner, and you were just like, right, I mean, that's literally game over.
Yeah.
It was literally game over.
Another place which has got a hard timbre is Lords, just because it's too quick.
Yeah, it's just so quick. Yeah, I was thinking Lords. Prested Hall, very hard timbre.
I find that not a lot actually hits it off the main wall when you go to Prested.
So
It tends to hit the main
the
wall.
timbre is very, very skinny, right?
Yeah, it is skinny, right?
But have you ever noticed that at Prested, the stroke area at the hazard end is absolutely massive?
I haven't really noticed that, but I mean, yeah, I assume it is.
So when you're at Prested, you automatically, I don't know if I've already mentioned this to you before, you would automatically position yourself at the hazard end relative to like where the timbre is. That's just like you may not be aware consciously that you do it, but
Yeah.
you will. You'll position yourself relative to where the timbre and the stroke line is.
Okay.
But you can't position yourself relative to where the back wall is because you can't see the back wall, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know where it is. You have a very good idea of where it is because you can see the timbre out the corner of your eye where the stroke line is, right? Every single time at Preston, you're kind of in that area and someone hits the ball and you think, okay, right, I'll leave that to the back wall. You turn around and the back wall's miles away.
Yeah, you do get a lot of balls that go behind you there.
You're just like, why am I stood like the equivalent of chase 5? Like, why am I this far up the court? And it's because
the timbre
and the stroke area is so far ahead of you that you end up kind of being dragged up the court a little bit. And the timbre is also so square, so they actually painted an extra yard of stroke zone, if you like, because you were getting far too many hazards off a timbre.
Oh really? Oh god, it's the classic, isn't it?
I think you were able to hit a hazard like from the forehand side sometimes. So they've added an extra yard of stroke area, which then brings you forward a bit more. So you're then stood in this spot, and you've got loads of space behind you to cover. Bearing in mind the glass back walls behind you, so it's more dead than the rest of the court.
Yeah.
And if it hits the timbre, it's so square, so you end up, miles away from this thing.
Yeah.
Like, you go to some courts and it's like, well, if the ball hits the timbre, it ends up there, and if it misses, it's going to end up here. And the two spots are quite far away from each other, but you kind of think, oh, maybe if I'm stout or something and I take some big lunge, I can misread it and still maybe get it.
Yeah.
Prested, no chance. Literally no chance. You're miles away from this.
I wouldn't say Prested is like top 5 hardest timbres in the world though, nonetheless.
I think it's just very, very difficult for other reasons, such as, so put it this way, this would be my argument as to why it would be. As you said earlier in the conversation, once you figure Oxford out, you just need to stand deeper, you can start getting it back right.
Yeah, you can, honestly, once you're in rhythm at Oxford, you won't miss.
So your positioning at Preston makes no difference whatsoever.
Yeah, fair.
You just have to read whether it's going to hit the timbre or not. Because if you don't get that read right, it's game over. Whereas somewhere like an Oxford, you can in theory, it's an easy timbre, right? Because you don't need to go forwards to cover the straight timbre. You just go right. It's either going to hit the timbre and come back to me here, or it's going to miss, and I just need to move to the left a bit.
It actually just comes off the back wall a lot as well. It's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to throw a few curveballs in there because that is a difficult one.
Good insight.
That people may not think about it. Tough place to return serve. Where do you feel like you get kind of tucked up return? Because there's obviously some courts you go on and you're like, people can't really serve to me very well here. It's tough court to serve on, etc., etc. Where do you places where you feel like you've really been pinned in and like, oh my god?
In my opinion, Manchester. Manchester is a good place to serve because it just does weird stuff off the roof, and also you can get pinned in because obviously it doesn't necessarily do too much on the court itself. So your only option really is like a gallery. Like you're not going to really rip stuff past people there. So I sometimes Manchester can be quite hard to return serve on.
You've never played Paris, have you?
Never played Paris. It's not that hard to serve though, is it?
No, but that's what I mean. Like if someone's on a serving role against you at Paris,
oh yeah,
you're just in a horrible place.
At Oxford, it can be hard as well because
if people are on a roll serving and you're stuck down about hazard end and they're serving tight, it's a horrible. You feel like you're just like, God, I'm just getting killed here, and I'm just waiting for that one loose one that I can just do something with to get a chase and get out of it.
Yeah. Oxford's hard as well because you've got a massive nick. People can serve railroads there. You can really get pinned in at Oxford. Like Daz has won a few 0 to 9s just serving railroads, ripping them past people. I think a lot of the modern courts these days pretty easy to enter and serve. You think of like,
why don't people just volley it then?
well, I think you got to try, but I mean, if you
Because
cut
the penthouse isn't that weird.
if you cut volleys not great.
For example, like Paris is very difficult, and you go, well, people just chuck railroads in, and it's really good, and you go, we'll just volley it. But that's the thing. Have you ever tried volleying off that penthouse? It's a cliff face.
Cliff face.
So you've got like, it's tough. You know, I would say Oxford has a perfectly friendly penthouse. It's very narrow.
Yeah.
If Darren's just rolling nicks in against everybody, it's like, well, why are people watching that happen?
Yeah, you just got to take a cup of concrete and volley it.
Have a go at something.
Yeah.
A cup of concrete.
What?
All right. Where is we must be running slightly low on time.
No, we're not. We've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
All right. I was trying to think like a bit more like out of the box and think, what's the easiest place to hit all that kind of stuff. Where do you find that you have to work the hardest physically?
Great question. That is a great question because obviously, as a physical specimen myself, I always like to think I work hard. But I think
like courts that you play on where you're just like, cool. I've got one in my mind where I just think when I'm playing there, I'm gonna have to like really work hard today. You don't work hard anyway, but
no.
Like, I can't just coast around. I need to really give it everything.
Mate, Lords I find is a physical and technical test. Lords is hard.
So Lords that's my one, just because it's so quick.
Mate, we're on such a wavelength. This is just, I'm absolutely loving this.
So Lords is so quick, and the angles are so thin. So
Yeah.
by thin, I mean like when the ball comes around the corner, it doesn't really come out to the middle of the court. It kind of stays in the corner. So not only is it quick, you're constantly having to kind of go into the corner. So you've really got to cover the full width of the court, and it's quick.
Yeah.
And it cuts down like a bastard.
If you misread it at Lords, you're gone. So like you have to like read everything perfectly.
It's a physical. That is a hard physical test. That one.
I always say to my dad, like, playing real tennis at Lords is like the hardest technical test. It'd be like playing cricket on some wicket which is like turning, or it's a really quick wicket. Like you really have to be on your game there, because if your techniques are not up to scratch, it'll just be like racket error. You have to work so hard, just because that it is a difficult ball pretty much every time. Great answer. Great question as well. Lords is hard, but obviously like a lot of these courts where you can retrieve well, I wouldn't necessarily say you have to work hard, but you have the capacity to like push yourself when it's bouncy.
You could argue like somewhere where the rallies go on forever, you have to work physically hard, which is true to a point.
I don't think you do.
So if it's so bouncy, and it's a bit slower, the rallies are longer, but they might be less intense, or like, they must be like they might be less physically demanding.
You can just be a bit more like loose, and maybe if you're not quite right feet wise, you can just hack it back. Like at Manchester, I find sometimes me and Daz are just doing all sorts when we're rallying, but the rallies just keep going.
Prested is a very tough court physically. Prested, and that's because you've got that big stroke area to defend.
Yeah.
But also the floor is very slow and stays very low.
Yeah.
So if you get if you're at the service end and someone kind of puts a ball in underneath the galleries or something and hits it short, like you have to go and get it. It won't skip on and get to you.
Yeah.
So you've really got to cover some ground like there as well. And then kind of moving on to places where the conditions kind of can be a factor. Like I've come off court at Newport a few times and have been absolutely bollocks just because of like the humidity and stuff like that, and it's just like you're gasping for air, and that can be a tough place because of the conditions as opposed to the court itself.
Same with Melbourne, actually. Obviously, I remember a few times when we came off court in Melbourne, I was like, mate, I'm literally working to like, this is like playing squash or something. I was like, I'm working so hard here.
Obviously, I'm kind of used to it, but I remember you coming off after like, the first couple of days practice, and you were like, I'm absolutely knackered. Like, I've worked so hard.
Well, like, no, I was not as in like I couldn't play the next day, but like it was 2 hours, and I was like,
you're just like, I've literally emptied the tank there.
Yeah, I'm in big trouble. But no, it's great, those courts, like the quick ones, where it's literally like, well, you can't, if you're just walking around, you'll just get beaten.
Well, the ball will just get past you the whole time.
Yeah, it will. Which is why real tennis, I think, is with the pace of the game now, it is becoming like a younger man's sport, really. unless you are like Rob Fay, I guess.
Just about to say, tell the world champion.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's
Well, see, it's interesting when you say younger man's like. So where do you think people are at age-wise with their physical peak?
Great question, mate. When am I going to peak physically? I don't know.
Well, the only reason I ask you that is because if you look at the top 10 in the world now,
Yeah, you're all like 30.
how many of them are under 30?
Lummers and that's it, and Mathieu.
Right, that's it.
Yeah.
And Matthew can't compete physically with anyone else in the top 10. Purely on physics, like that's like he's a very good technical player and is like one of the seriously underrated thinker, like tactician as well.
Yeah.
But physically, if you put him up against the rest of the top 10 in a bunch of physical tests,
yeah,
I'm backing him to come 10th.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's unfit at all. I'm not saying he's unfit. I'm just saying I think everybody else is just a level ahead of him when it comes to fitness.
You're actually right. Actually, all the top 10 are all in their 30s. Yeah, maybe my time will come when I'm 30 odd.
Well, so that's what I mean. Like you say, it's a younger man's game. I mean, how young? Because you cannot underestimate the difference between a 5-set match compared to a 3.
I wouldn't know really. I've only been in like 3 5-set matches.
And the thing is, and then like with a tournament, you've got to then wake up the next day and do it again potentially against a tougher opponent.
Yeah.
So like the ability to play 5-set matches like back to back is hard work. Well, look at like the Melbourne Eliminator.
Yeah, that's hard.
You do 5 days of practice for 2 hours. Day 6 you play 4 sets, have a rest day, then you play 5 sets.
Exactly.
That's pretty full on.
Yeah, exactly. Even a world championship could be 3 days. But yeah.
I'm trying to think of someone who's won an Open maybe that's literally gone like 5 sets in every round or something like that. But
well, mate, it's not a real tennis. It's not a real tennis example, but in the 1990 World Cup, and no one remembers this. Obviously, everyone's like, "Oh, England was so unlucky to lose on pens in the semi." Mate, they went
we did extra time.
Every game in the knockouts. That is mental. That is mental. I'm like, wow. I only just clocked it. I was like, hang on, we did extra time every match. And like no one comments on that. They're all like, "Oh yeah, Gaz's tears." And it's like, mate, those guys must have been so fit. Like Lineker played like 120 minutes in every game.
Got the golden boot, didn't he?
Not in 1990.
Oh, thank you.
In 86. Toto Schillaci.
But legend.
But no, right. Have you got any more questions?
I did have one. Have you got any that you thought of a bit different to mine? I did have one.
Yeah. What's your favourite place to retrieve on? You think, yeah, fuck it. I love retrieving here. I love getting the ball back.
I mean, do you know what? This is going to sound like horrifically arrogant.
Go on.
But I think once you're kind of top 10, once you've had like a practice court somewhere, you've just got it figured out.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Anywhere.
I know that sounds like really it's a really boring answer, but I think part of the reason that the top guys are the top guys is because of their adaptability. You just walk on court and you go, you see the first few balls around the corner and you go, oh, this is a bit thin or this cuts down a bit, and then you just immediately dial into what's happening.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
So nothing really pops out as like I can think of places that are like the most satisfying places to retrieve, and if you're having a really good day, then somewhere like a Lord's or a New York or something that's really quick and cuts down like a bitch is like, yeah, God, it's so nice to retrieve like places like that because you're just like the gets are so much better. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, you can maybe do more with the gets.
And then and that's where something like that you're always going to nominate like your home court as well, aren't you? Because I'm going to back myself to deal with
Leamington.
Leamington.
Leamington is good to retrieve on.
Yeah, because it's quite easy. Because it's quite bouncy and slow, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
so
reasonably true.
Reasonably true, apart from the blackboard.
No, apart from the walls.
But yes, I know what you mean. I know what you mean with that question. I just think that's probably a question more like aimed at like your higher single figure guys or something.
Yeah,
you
makes
might
sense.
adapt a bit slower.
Yeah, true. I
What
know
about
what you
you?
mean. I just think like you can get a lot back at Middlesex, Oxford. Weirdly, at Oxford, I think you can really control the game if you're just getting the ball back. Yeah, Wellington from the service end. I just don't think you can get much past
So
people.
what you're exactly so what you're doing here, without necessarily doing it on purpose, is you're basically reading off a list of courts that are quite slow and bouncy.
Well, yeah, maybe that's true. I suppose they're good for retrieving, but it's true. It should go hand in hand.
There's nothing better than, like, let's say we're practicing at Leamington
Yeah,
and I've fizzed the ball into the corner, right?
yeah,
There's nothing better for you in knowing that whatever work it looks like is on my shot, you know it's going to slow down and not cut off the back wall, so you're like, I can get that.
yeah. Always, you just got to
And
believe.
there's no worse feeling for me or the person who's hit that ball going, that's such a good shot, and it's just not going to do anything.
Oh no, yeah, it happens.
It's just so wasted.
It happens a lot. Right. Well, this discussion was interesting. Like I'm sure people have got their opinions on this.
Well, see, but I'd be interested to see like just people kind of writing in and go, yeah, I like to hit this shot. Like if I'm hitting this shot, this is my favourite court to do it on,
Exactly.
or something like that. Because obviously we just made this up on the spot, so
Oh,
we probably missed a
absolutely.
load of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Or if there's any stuff we missed, like if you're thinking, oh, what's easy to hit, like a cut shot, what's your favourite ball to cut? I don't know. Lots of ideas, but no, decent topic, and I assume people have got ideas. Well, no, we won't be hitting these shots for a while due to lockdown, but nonetheless, good to think about. Right. Okay, so we're on to the next part of the courts section of the podcast, and we're on to Hampton Court if we're going east. To East Moseley. That is
We've
east.
gone north today, haven't we? We've gone north. Well,
Yeah.
oh, very nice, good link.
Yeah, onto the on M3 to Richmond, Kingston upon Thames, all that shit.
Also, we should do like a geographical route. So from Petworth, we've just nipped up the A3
Is
through
it the
Guildford,
A3? Right, fair. Yeah, true.
through Esher, past like
Esher.
past the race course, and here we are.
Past, yeah, Kempton Park. And, no,
Sandown.
Oh, is it? There's two of them, aren't there? Kempton's
Kempton's
not
in on
far.
the M3.
Fair enough. Racing starting on June the 1st. Right, so Hampton Court, biggest court in England.
Yeah, it's the second biggest court in the world, I think.
It is the second biggest in the world. Henry VIII used to live there. Some pros still live there now.
True, yeah.
It's got a big picture of Henry VIII in the grill.
Yeah.
In my opinion, one of the nicest timbers in the world.
Friendliest, you mean?
Friendliest, yeah. It just comes off the same pace when you hit it. What else? Nice grounds. If you're not playing, you can just have a walk around, especially if it's in the summer.
Nice location.
In a nice location, yeah.
Good views.
Yeah, great views. No trough in the net, which is really annoying.
Do you know what? When you think about it, like Hampton Court is basically, and you know, I'm not saying it's the best court out there by any stretch, but it's exactly what you would want in a court, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It
like,
is.
It's a nice big open space. So if you want to serve high, you can serve high. If you don't want to serve high, you know it takes a railroad, but you've got the space to be able to do whatever you want to try and do.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like some courts you go to and you're just physically restricted.
Yeah.
Harbour Club, you're like, right, I basically can't hit a force unless I know it's going to go in. I can't serve anything higher than a bobble.
Good luck
this kind of stuff.
Good luck hitting a force then.
Anything that's got like the height, which basically just like a Paris as well, and you just go, right, I can try anything.
Yeah. No, you can.
Just because it's got the space. Hampton Court is very wide.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, so we say it's the second biggest. It's not that massive in terms of length, I don't think, or not noticeably, but it is a wide old place.
Yeah.
Got to cover some ground.
You do notice that
that's a long way to cover.
You do notice it as well when you are playing because certain balls will beat you wide, which wouldn't otherwise. But nonetheless.
But then it doesn't necessarily feel massively wide because
No.
it checks back into the middle off the sidewall. If you hit the sidewall first, it does kind of kick back towards that middle quite a lot. So
yeah.
So that kind of takes the emphasis away on the width. Imagine it was as wide as it is, but the walls were as slick and as thin as Lord's.
Wow, Ben, that's
then
blowing my mind.
you'd be in a world of trouble.
Mate,
Wouldn't you?
If Lords is as big as Hampton, I just think it would just be Winner City. Just like people just would just hit winners, wouldn't they?
You'd literally just have to. You You'd have to just turn it into like paddle and be like it's doubles only.
Yeah. It's too
Can't play
quick. Sorry.
can't play singles. Can't play singles on this court.
Oh mate, yeah.
All right, Hampton Court. Then the penthouse is quite slick and quite shallow, so the ball skips on quite a lot.
It
and
does, yeah.
like
if you go hard,
a good like test of that is if you serve a bobble,
Yeah.
you would serve it short because it would skid through and find its way to the back quite well.
I think every single time I've hit a bobble, the first time at Hampton, it just goes out long. I've hit like double faults there first point of the match. I'm like, oh fuck's sake, because it just keeps rolling on the roof.
It does just keep going.
Yeah.
What I find quite interesting, so about Hampton Court, like in terms of particular characteristics that I kind of associate with when I go there, is the numbers on the wall are absolutely massive.
Yeah, they are big. They're fucking huge.
Like massive. Like when I'm stood there, it makes the court feel even bigger. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, wow, the numbers are about as tall as I am.
Nice.
Not very.
Ben's small.
But you kind of feel like you're really kind of like in a big open space.
Yeah.
The noise, the sounds from around the court, it sounds old.
Yeah.
You like the ball kind of hits some of the walls and stuff, and it sounds like it's a bit rubbly. And
massive bando as well. Big bando.
Massive bando. I remember because obviously I've worked there a lot, and the bando that goes along the back of the back wall, at the top of the back wall at the hazard end, was like coming away from the back wall. So basically, you would serve a railroad. Somebody would see that it was going to hit the back wall really high, so they'd start like charging up the court, ready to return this thing up at hazard 1, and it would hit the bando and basically just drop like a stone.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So they put some like, what's the increasing foam stuff in to try and just fill that gap, and it basically turned into like a bouncy castle. So
yeah,
like,
the bando's
the spot and then take off.
The bando's like rapid now.
Absolutely fly.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So that's the like increasing foam, whatever behind it. Another thing, which is unfortunately not a great thing about Hampton Court, is the lights. The lights there are terrible, but that's not their fault because because of the palace nature, they have to have the lights on the play line pointing up and then reflecting back down to the court. So it's just so hard for them to obviously.
I reckon it's probably the lights are probably
amazing lighting.
The lights are probably worse in the dark when it's, let's say, when you've got like a night match. I think during the day it's not that bad.
So when I used to work there, people would in Chris Ronson's time, people would have cheaper fees if they didn't have the lights on, and a lot of people during the middle of the day, for like 5 hours in the middle of the day, wouldn't have the lights on because you honestly really didn't need it. The amount of natural light in that place is incredibly good.
Yeah. You're right.
Absolutely incredible. I think the thing that lets the lights down a bit is like there's obviously some kind of circuitry issue because like you say, when you play National League, it's always dark.
Yeah.
And sometimes a couple of the lights can just like ping out.
Yeah, it happens.
And you just like that's a shame, obviously.
Yeah.
So anyway, in terms of like characteristics and stuff, it is big, but I think it's bouncy as well.
It is very bouncy.
You do feel like you're in a big space, don't you? Because the ceiling's very tall as well, and you've got the people watching from up top.
No, it's
and
big.
You do feel like you're in a bit of a kind of a coliseum.
No.
You've had some good results there, haven't you?
Mate, Hampton Court's right up there for me as a favourite court. I seem to just play quite well there. Because you can just get a lot back. I think if you're really willing to work hard, you can get a lot back off the back wall. You can the balls are quite true. The floor's quite I know spits.
One thing we should say is the balls are absolutely fantastic.
They are good balls, genuinely, really good balls. They just feel good off your racket when you hit it, especially off the floor. And occasionally, like off the side walls, it can spit in your face, which is hard. But I do find that you really can get a lot back there. You really can.
Grill's pretty fair to hit, isn't it? Like say the timber's like fairly nice. Do you know what?
It's fairly normal, yeah.
When I worked there, I used to get so many people saying to me like, "Oh God, Hampton Court is so tough to play on."
Are you joking? How is it hard?
I mean, obviously, I was like, well, maybe it's because I work here, so I play here every day. But I'm like, Is it really?
Mate,
And then
no way.
every time we've gone back to play National League or I've done Champions Trophy or whatever, you just kind of pick it up. I tell you what, it becomes a lot easier once the balls are a couple of days old.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough at the start. Like it feels a bit kind of like inconsistent. But then you put a brand new set of balls on any court, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, as I've got a platform to do it, amateurs and members that come on court and go, "Oh, those balls are great because they're brand new and they're shiny."
Yeah.
The biggest myth. Oh, how did we not myth bust this a few episodes ago?
Go on.
New balls are awful. Like the worst thing you can possibly do.
Yeah, they're bad. They're bad.
Is put new balls on.
Yeah.
Awful. Members always go, "Oh, balls on court are lovely," and I'm like, "What do you mean? Because they're shiny and they're new? They play terribly." You want a set of balls that's had like 4 hours of like world class tennis.
Yeah.
They're a bit dirty and stuff at that point, but God, they are knocked in and they are beautiful to play with. New balls suck.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Myth busted.
I just remember.
I would rather have a set of balls on court that have been on court for 10 days than 10 minutes.
Yeah, new balls is hard. It's like it's just too quick, isn't it? There's too much going on.
So back in the day, like diverting slightly, day one of the British Open at Queen's was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because you'd have like people off like two playing each other, and no one could get a ball back. They were taking frames all over the place because the balls are just like fizzing around at Queen's. Some of them are cutting down, some of them aren't. It's just like, oh my God, like not these guys, not their fault. Like, if you're trying to sell like the sport to like potential investors and stuff like that, go to Queen's on day one and watch people just framing it around and making racket errors because the balls are so impossible to use.
That day one's also a dangerous day to go to the British Open. You're gonna get some long ones.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, back to Hampton. No, I think it's a good place to play.
You love playing there, don't you? I mean, I obviously have played there for so many years.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very comfortable.
I just think I remember I played match here. I played match here there in the Champions Trophy, and I literally was just like trying to get the ball back, and I was just getting everything back though. I mean, if you're willing to just work hard and then take your chance when it's there, I don't think there's many better places to play, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you can.
If you're willing to play real tennis.
I think what the good thing about like Hampton Court is you can play two ways there. You can either go on court with your kind of style and just go, do you know what, I'm just going to get one more ball over the net than you every time. And you can go out there and just go, I'm going to be solid today. That's what I'm just going to do. I'm just going to keep getting the ball over the net. I'm going to keep the ball relatively tight and I'm just going to wait for you to break.
Yeah.
That style can work. But if you also get out there and go, do you know what, I'm going to take it to you today and I'm going to rip the ball around and I'm going to drive the ball around and I'm going to go for my targets and stuff, you can do that there as well.
Yeah.
I know that sounds silly because in theory you should be able to do that everywhere, but sometimes you just can't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think the variables there are so good, and the different styles of play you can implement there are really, really good.
Yeah, it's a good place to learn, a good place to play.
And actually, if you look at a lot of the top tournaments these days, you generally see people serving like one or two different serves, right?
Yeah.
Hampton Court, everyone kind of, people mix it up.
Yeah,
you do get quite a lot of different thingies there, like during the Champions Trophy. It's not just.
It makes for good real tennis, actually, if people are serving different stuff. That's a great point, Ben. That's a great point.
Well, that's what, again, if I just kind of like go back to like the British Open or something, you go to Queen's, you've got the best guys in the world, and it's effectively just like, right, it's going to be a bobble or a high serve, and everyone's going to do the same thing all day long.
And so also, high serve faults are boring.
Well, yeah, and from a spectator's perspective, so lawn tennis, right?
Yeah.
If you've got a ticket for Wimbledon, you look at the order of play and you kind of go, oh, this will be a good matchup because of these styles, and this will be different, and you get to see some chip and charge from this person and some baseline stuff from this person. That's what you want when you go to a real tennis venue, right? That's tennis. You've got different styles, and you've got a court that lends itself to be able to do different things on it. And serving is going to be one of those big things because it's the biggest thing you can vary, and yet a lot of courts people go to and don't vary it because there's just no point. Whereas Hampton Court, you can chuck in loads of different stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to be a good thing, isn't it?
I agree, completely agree. Hampton Court's a great place to play. But right, let's wrap this
Champions
up.
Trophy as well. Now they hope the major tournament as well. The Champions Trophy.
Oh.
That's a good success.
Mate, what an event that is! I think it's a great concept in the summer. Well, let's classify Hampton Court. Where are we putting it in your list, Ben?
Blimey, it's going to be kind of higher end of middle third or lower end of top third, probably, just because of familiarity.
Yeah, I agree. Mine's top third for sure. Hampton Court. I wouldn't. I'm always happy to play there. Always. I think it's a good place to play. But yeah, where are we going next? We're going to continue east. Wellington.
No, well that's west.
All right. Okay.
So it depends. Do you want to go up through London, or do you want to go like now? Do you want to then kind of zigzag back across the country? So like Holyport, Wellington.
Fuck. Yeah. We won't go into London just yet because I feel like we can just tick all the London ones off at once.
All right. Well, let's go west then. So Holyport first. Holyport before Wellington.
Yeah, keen for that.
All right. We're gonna have to start. We're gonna have to start like pinning these on the map so we don't end up embarrassing ourselves in another 2 episodes time when we've got no idea where we are.
Yeah. We're lost. We need a sat nav.
So Holyport next then, yeah.
That'll be good. Holyport's got a bit. Well, does it have a bit about it? But it's a real tennis court. We can talk about it as we go. Ben, are you working out today? What are you doing for the rest of today?
I am. I've got an 11:30. What time is it now? Like
11.
Yeah, I've got an 11:30, and then I need to go and do. It's a pretty boring day actually. Need to do some new house admin. Need to phone them up and give them a load of shit.
Is it?
Wow. Yeah, because they're being useless. And go and do some shopping.
Nice.
And then hopefully the weather stays quite nice, and maybe go and sit in the park away from everybody, of course, and just let the dog run riot.
Which part is this? The park down the bottom?
Maybe you might jump in the car though and try and get out and about somewhere. Maybe somewhere a bit quieter, because obviously right in the middle of town, like it's generally busy there quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know really. It's bizarrely, boringly for a Saturday. It's going to be quite a functional day.
Interesting. There's nothing wrong with a functional day. It keeps you busy, right?
Well, I get that, but not Saturday, Sunday. You don't want to be doing important stuff on the weekend. Mind you, every day's a weekend for me at the moment. So.
Yeah, it's bank holiday weekend apparently.
Of course it is.
Yeah, how random.
I'll make sure I do even less on Monday than I have done the last 10 Mondays then.
Yeah, I know. Oh no, it's a Monday. Well, let's hope this episode gets more than 60 views. I mean, who knows? We need to boost it again. I might even put it on my story. But we'll see. Enjoy the dog.